What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. This is my betting breakdown video for UFC Vegas 58. We have Rafael Fiziev going against Rafael dos Anjos.
I need all the wins, yeah. Harder than all that is. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out.
And we are back for another betting breakdown video this week, breaking down a 12-fight card. Was supposed to have like 14 fights at one point, went down to like 11, and then now we're back up to 12 since Onama did get a new opponent. And we'll be definitely talking about that fight. Another very light card for me. Last week went 2-2 for some slight profit. This week I only have 3 bets. I mean, this card is about as sketchy as you can get. I'm going to be keeping it extremely light. You know, bankroll management's key. This card, I don't know. I mean, it's tough to bet on fights like Chase Sherman, Jared Vandermeer, Cynthia Calvillo, Nina Nunez, Antonina Shevchenko, Courtney Case, just a lot of very sketchy fights like Kennedy Nzechukwu, Carl Roberson sketchy. It's a card where I'm just going to sit back and just kind of watch this one because next week we have UFC Long Island. I think that's a better betting card. And then UFC London, which is going to be a phenomenal betting card. So I'm kind of, keeping my ammo for those next 3 cards, Long Island, London, and then also UFC 277 at the end of the month. So, not a ton of action here. Going to be a lot of passing. I know people don't like passing, but bankroll management's key. I'm not going to go out there and bet on Jared Vandermeer this week. So, before we get started, guys, if you guys can please leave a like, subscribe to the channel. As always, let's keep growing the channel. Do appreciate all the support week in and week out. Will be no best bet live stream 1 hour prior to the prelim, but I will post an upload just going through the lines, through my best bets for each and every fight on the card. That'll be on fight day. So I say we get into it, and we're going to start with the first fight of the night. We have Ronnie Lawrence going against Sayud and I like Lawrence here. This is a guy that I really like his style, but I also like Kakhramonov. These guys, I think, have so much upside in the division. You have Kakhramonov, who's 26 years old. You have Ronnie Lawrence, who's just an absolute beast. I mean, the guy's averaging over 9 takedowns per 15 minutes. I think he's completing those takedowns at like 78%. This guy's no joke. He has cardio and pace to keep up with that wrestling heavy game plan that he comes in with. So I like that. But Sayud Kakhramonov, this guy is very dangerous anywhere the fight goes. He's well-rounded, submission game, tons of power in his hands. This is a very well-matched fight, a fight where I'm not going to be betting on this one. I lean Ronnie Lawrence. The line's fairly close, and fairly close for a reason. I think Ronnie Lawrence is going to be able to win minutes with the wrestling, with the pace, but Kakhramonov is going to be live for a finish at any point in this fight. If I was to bet this fight, I think there's 2 ways to look at this. You got Ronnie Lawrence by decision, plus 140. I don't see him finishing Kakhramonov. And also you have the finish only, the scorecards equals no action on Sayud Kakhramonov. On BetOnline, it's like minus 180, but I saw on FanDuel Sportsbook, they call it decision no bet. It's sitting at minus 134, something like that. So I think that's how I would attack. If you like Ronnie Lawrence decision, if you like Kakhramonov inside the distance, the scorecards equals no action, but should be a very fun fight and probably one of the best, if not the best fight on the card. It's the first fight of the night. So I'm taking Ronnie Lawrence for the win, but not betting it. Not touching this fight as well. Kennedy Nzechukwu going against Carl Roberson. We started off here. I mean, how can anybody be confident in this fight? Kennedy is going to have the physical tools. We saw it at the weigh-ins. He's going to be much bigger. He has good cardio. That's about it with Kennedy. I don't think he's the most skilled fighter. We know the narrative with him. He's still very green. We've been saying he's green for 4 years at this point. I don't know if he's ever going to put it together. So you have Kennedy who, physically has all the tools. 6'5" at the weight class. The guy's at 83-inch reach. Physically, the tools are there. I just don't know if the skill is really lining up. And then you have Roberson, who, how can anybody trust this guy as well? He's very low volume. He's been finished 5 times in all of his losses. He drops the ball more often than not. But I think he's the more skilled fighter. So do you want Kennedy, who is probably going to throw more volume, is much, much bigger, or do you want the more skilled fighter in Carl Roberson? I mean, this should be a pick-em. I personally lean on Kennedy because I feel like I can trust him to throw more, but this guy's so hit or miss. Some fights will show up and look good, but other fights will show up and look awful, look terrible. Like the Dalton Jung fight, he looked terrible, and he's looking bad. Like the Olberg fight, he looked horrible until Olberg gassed out, and this is a mess of a fight. So a fight that I would never bet on this fight. If I was to pick anything, I guess it would be the over 1.5 rounds. But even that, I saw Kennedy get knocked out by an elbow that landed to the forearm. So this is a pass for me. The pick's Kennedy, but just no confidence in that. Next, we have David Onama going against Garrett Armfield. this will be my first bet of the night out of my 3 bets, so not a ton of action on this card, and I would have only had 2 bets if this fight was not added back on. But I really like violence in the spot. We have David Onama with a 100% finish rate. Garrett Armfield, it was weird because Sherdog and Tapology had him at a 100% finish rate, and I went and watched one of his fights, and he won by decision. So they ended up changing that, and he's now won all of his fights but one inside the distance. David Onama has finished all of his wins under 2.5 rounds, and that's where I'm leaning. I like the under 2.5 rounds, minus 175. I have 2 units on it that is still available on DraftKings Sportsbook. A lot of people are on that over 1.5 rounds, and it's because David Onama and Armfield actually fought before. They fought as an amateur, and it was about 4 years ago. They did go to decision, but if you watch that fight, that was only it was a 3-round fight, and then the rounds were 3 minutes long, so a total of 9 minutes, and Onama was just having a ton of success. He was the much bigger fighter. He even hurt Armfield at points, and I mean, this is a tough ask for Armfield to come in here. Not only is he coming up a weight class, this is going to be his very first professional fight at 145 pounds. Not only is he going to be much, much, much smaller. I mean, David Onama is going to be towering over this guy, but short notice on like 3 or 4 days notice, I don't like that. And Onama's a beast. I think Onama has improved a ton, and so has, Armfield since their first fight back as an amateur. But I think Onama's just completely leveled up. This guy's extremely dangerous. He's going to go out there and stand and bang. I think he's going to dictate where this fight takes place, and that's going to be on the feet. I think he knocks out Armfield in the very first round. So I like Onama here. Obviously, you can't play the minus 900, but if you like Onama inside the distance minus 160, under 2.5 minus 175, even the under 1.5. I know the over 1.5 is a popular play, but I'd lean under here. I think Onama gets it done and gets it done fairly early. All right, next we have Treyshawn Gore going against Cody Bryant. This is my other bet of the week. I have Treyshawn Gore 1 unit minus 113, and yeah, I think it's a really good matchup for him. Looking into the tape for Treyshawn Gore, obviously I wanted to take a look at the takedown defense. His takedown defense is very good. He's very physically strong as well. I like that. Also heard that he has a brown belt in BJJ for what it's worth, but the bread and butter is on the feet. I think this guy is extremely talented. But he does lack one thing, and that one thing is volume. And that's why I did bet against him against a guy like Bryant Battle, who I know would, throw a ton, and he did. He did get hurt a couple times. Gore hurt Battle in that second round like twice. But in this matchup, I think Gore's going to be the much better striker. I really don't think it's close. And, Cody Brundage, pretty hittable on the feet, and I don't really trust his chin. I guess if Brundage is going to win, I feel like it could play out 2 ways. Potentially taking down Gore and having success on the ground, but I don't know. I like Gore's takedown defense. I like his ability to keep it on the feet, or maybe doing more than Gore, but I really think on the feet, Brundage is going to get in trouble. Brundage is going to get hit. He's going to get hurt. I think he gets knocked out. So I like Gore. I did bet him straight instead of the knockout prop because I feel like Gore not only can knock him out, but he also could win a decision, stuffing the takedowns and landing the bigger shots. But these Gore knockout props are pretty insane. Gore by knockout plus 275. I think that's interesting, but ultimately I do have 1 unit on Gore minus 113. All right, Anthony Shevchenko going against Courtney Casey. Typically, I'm looking to fade Anthony Shevchenko any chance I get, but I'm looking to fade her against somebody that's going to take her down, and Courtney Casey does not do that. I think in her entire career in the UFC, she's landed maybe 3 takedowns, so I can't really expect her to land takedowns here, and if she doesn't, Shevchenko should be the better fighter on the feet. I think Shevchenko by decision, plus 120. I guess if you want to bet Shevchenko, I don't. Fight goes to decision. I think the fight goes to decision on both the Shevchenko-Casey and the Calvillo Nunez fight are definitely playable. I think the Shevchenko-Casey fight goes is like minus 175, minus 185. I think that's decent if you absolutely have to play something in this fight. I'm going to pass, though. Pick Shevchenko to win. But if Casey fights smart and gets the fight down to the mat, I think she could be live. Ricky Turcios going against Ayman Zahabi. I like Turcios here. I don't really like him at the line, minus 190. He's just too reckless for me. He's very, very hittable. He has no takedown defense. But this guy's the definition of a minute winner because he's going to be doing something at every single moment of this fight. He's so active. Whether it's on the feet, he's very active throwing strikes. When he's off his back, he's very active throwing up submissions, scrambling, throwing strikes off his back. I think he's a very good minute winner. And if this fight does go to decision, it's going to be Turcios all day because you have Zahabi, who's the complete opposite. This guy's a terrible minute winner. He barely throws anything. BJJ black belt in Zahabi. He doesn't use his wrestling enough as he should. Maybe he should in this fight. I think Turcios wins. Turcios by decision plus 135 is probably the way to go. If you like Zahabi, by KO plus 450 is probably his best path to victory. Turcios has been knocked out before, and again, he's very hittable, and Zahabi does hit hard. Zahabi scorecards equals no action. The finish only for Zahabi could also be interesting. If there is a finish in this fight, I do think it's more often than not Zahabi. Zahabi's finished all but one of his wins, and Turcios has like a 36% finish rate, something like that. So, yeah, I like Ricky here. I like Ricky by decision, but no bet on this one. Cynthia Calvillo going against Nina Nunez. Yeah, this is the biggest pass on the card. This is a 1-800-GAMBLER fight of the week, and there's actually a couple of them, but this is the biggest one. You have two fighters where I question if they even want to be here. Calvillo looked atrocious in her last fight against Andrea Lee. She quit on the stool after that second round on a 3-fight skid. I'm shocked we're seeing her back. And then Nina Nunez took that long layoff, had a child. I don't know if she wants to be here as well. I guess stylistically, I think it's a good matchup for Nunez. Typically, she has good takedown defense, and you'd think she's going to be the better striker, but how can you trust either fighter in this fight? I can't. I'm not betting it. If I was to bet it, it would be Nina Nunez, plus 125, and this would be a bet that I probably would have bet, a couple months ago, but I don't bet on these fights anymore because they burn me more often than not. So, I mean, if I was forced to bet this fight, it's Nina Nunez at plus money, but luckily, I'm not forced to bet anything. It's going to be a clear pass for me. Okay, we have Jamie Mullarkey going against Michael Johnson. Yeah, the price on Mullarkey is insane. I mean, this guy is just a walking punching bag. He has like a 47% striking defense, and Michael Johnson does hit very hard. I think people just want to go out here and fade Michael Johnson, which I would like to as well, but Jamie Mullarkey minus 235 doesn't make a ton of sense. I think it should be much closer. With that said, I still pick Mullarkey. I think he has more paths to victory here, especially if he implements his takedown game. Michael Johnson has been submitted 9 times in his career. I know people are looking at that Mullarkey prop by sub, which is only plus 500. The fight doesn't go to decisions, a very popular play at minus 215. I'm not quite going to get there. I don't really like anything in this fight. I think if anything, I might just sprinkle Michael Johnson by KO, plus 360. I saw plus 420. I think Michael Johnson by KO, that's his path to victory. But, Mullarkey's hittable. He's been knocked out 3 times. He just got knocked out recently a couple months ago, coming back way too soon. I wouldn't hate a sprinkle on the Michael Johnson KO, if anything, but another fight I'm not too excited about betting from a betting perspective. Jared Vanderaa, Chase Sherman. Man. I feel like Jared Vanderaa wins this fight all day. It's just he needs to go for takedowns. If I knew for a fact that Jared Vanderaa would go out here and go the takedown route, get this fight down to the mat, I'd be max betting Jared Vanderaa. The problem is I don't know if he can do that. I don't trust him that he's going to do that. He has 1 takedown in the UFC. It was actually on the Contender Series against Harry Hunsucker. I think he's like 4 or 5 fights in the UFC, and no takedown attempts in those 5 fights. So if you're Jared Vanderaa, you get this fight down to the mat. Chase Sherman has one of the worst ground games you'll ever see. Getting submitted by Jake Collier was a horrible look. Jared Vanderaa, BJJ black belt. Jared Vanderaa actually really good ground and pound, really good on the mat. It's just, will Jared Vanderaa take it down to the mat? I don't know. I can't trust him to, so I can't lay minus 205 on Jared Vanderaa because at the end of the day, on the feet, this is probably fairly close. Vanderaa has like a 44% striking defense. Both guys super hittable. I feel like if Vanderaa does not fight smart and get this fight down to the mat, it's going to be a very sloppy fight. And in that fight, I still favor Vanderaa because he is going to have the better cardio. But still, do I want to lay minus 205 on Jared Vanderaa ever? No, I really don't. I think people are looking to fade Chase Sherman, and rightfully so. But if he doesn't go for takedowns, it's going to be a close-ish fight. So give me Vanderaa to win. I was thinking about Vanderaa inside the distance, but if he does not get a takedown here, I don't know if he finishes Chase Sherman on the feet. But if he does get a takedown, I think the fight's over shortly after. So, tricky fight. Wish I could trust Vanderaa to go for takedowns, but I just can't. Sayud Magomedov going against Douglas Silva de Andrade. Yeah, this would have been a bet of mine. I had the finger over the trigger on Sayud Magomedov minus 240, and I was like, do I really want to lay minus 240 here? And I ended up passing, and now he's like minus 350, minus 400, which, Douglas Silva de Andrade, he's no bum, but he is 37 years old, and Nurmagomedov should have him covered pretty much everywhere. I think if you're looking to parlay something up, I think Nurmagomedov as a parlay piece makes sense to me. I have no parlays this week. I would caution anybody on parlaying anything on this card, but I think Nurmagomedov's probably one of the safer picks on the card, right behind, a guy like David Onama. Him and Sayud, I feel pretty comfortable with saying they win more often than not. So as far as picking a prop for this fight, I'm staying away. I could see Nurmagomedov winning by knockout. I could see him winning by submission. I could see him winning by decision. So if anything, it's just Nurmagomedov as a parlay piece for me. Co-main event, Kyle Bahio going against Armen Petrosyan. Yeah, a couple things stick out, but just nothing I'm really running to the window for. The fight doesn't go to decision. -155 makes a lot of sense. The one thing that's keeping me off is Bahio's never been knocked out, which, it could change here, sure. The other thing is Bahio is a very smart fighter. His fight IQ is top-notch. He's not going out there and making a lot of mistakes. So I don't know if he's really going to push for that finish. I feel like he could be content to just go out there and grind out a 3-round decision. So that's kind of why I'm off the fight doesn't go, but -155, it's tempting. Petrosyan in his last fight, that was the very first fight that went to distance for him. And I remember the fight doesn't go in that fight. It was like -600, -700 against Gregory Rodriguez. So we're getting a little bit of discount, but it's a tough one. I like Kyle quite a bit. I think he has a clear path to victory, getting this fight down to the mat, using that ground game. Petrosyan has some of the worst takedown defense you'll ever see. What I will say is Petrosyan does do a good job getting up typically, and when he's on the feet, this guy's no joke. So, but Kyle's so smart. I think he's going to get it down to the mat, win minutes, grinding against the cage. I've seen Petrosyan held against the cage for an entire round against lower-level guys. I think Kyle Bahio, who is a black belt in BJJ, could take him down, potentially submit him, but the submission prop's only +270, so not much there. I'm going to take Kyle to win. If you're into, parlaying and all that, I don't hate Kyle as a parlay piece, I suppose. But I think we're counting out Petrosyan a little bit here. I mean, Petrosyan's a very, very good fighter. He's amazing on the feet. But I think Kyle has all the tools to win this fight. So give me Kyle to win. In terms of picking a prop, again, I could see knockout, I could see submission, I could see decision. Just another fight I'm staying away from. And then for the main event, and this is my third and final bet of the night. Sorry, guys, a ton of passing, but as you can tell, there's so many sketchy fights. I have the fight doesn't go to decision, 1 unit, +120. Analytics play here, me and Wheezy on Probability, a show we do on the MMA Engine where we talk about all the lines from a data-driven perspective. We talked about the 155-pound fights and the main events in specific, and those main events at 155 pounds do finish at a 70% clip, and we're getting the fight doesn't go to decision at a 45.5%. Implied probability there at +120. So I like that for the analytics reason, and also the analysis, right? Like Fiziev on the feet is going to be live for a knockout at any point. I know Dos Anjos has only been knocked out twice in the UFC, 3 times total. The last time he's been knocked down was back in 2008 against Jeremy Stephens, but RDA is now 37 years old. Fiziev could be live for that knockout. The guy hits like a truck. And then if this fight hits the mat any type of way, like if Dos Anjos gets on top of Fiziev, especially if it's late in the fight, if Fiziev slowed down, RDA is a legit BJJ black belt. This guy's no joke on the mat. He's went out there and submitted, much, much better grapplers than guys like Rafael Fiziev. I think if Anjos gets on top of Fiziev, I think the sub very well could be live there. So I like the knockout angle for Fiziev, submission for Dos Anjos. Fight, I like the analytics behind it as well. Fight doesn't go decision, +120, 1 unit. It's worth a shot. Not my most confident play. I'm not really confident on anything on this card, but I don't hate a shot on that fight doesn't go. From a money line perspective, Fiziev -230 is insane to me. Because there's question marks. Like, what does he look like in the 4th and 5th round? We've seen this guy slow down numerous times in the 3rd round. Like, what's he going to look like in the 4th and 5th? And then the other question mark I have is his takedown defense. Yes, it's 95%, but it's 95% against who? I think if RDA can really push the pace here, test the takedown defense, even get him down, I feel like RDA can definitely take over down the stretch. But the bets fight doesn't go, covers both sides. If I was forced to play a money line, it'd be RDA +195, but I'm just going to just bet that fight doesn't go. The decision only for RDA as well, +180, I think I saw on DraftKings. Not sure if that's still there, but that was a spot that kind of stuck out to me. But I think I'm going to keep it extremely light this week. I kept it light last week, only 4 bets. Even lighter this week, such a sketchy card. But like I said, I'm keeping the ammo for next week at Long Island, much better betting card. And then UFC London, which is going to be my highest exposed card of the year. I already have a big bet on that card. Bet it like a month and 2 weeks prior to the card. And then just a lot of other spots sticking out. I might lay another big bet on the London card pretty soon on a money line that's really sticking out. But yeah, guys, thank you guys for watching. No best bet. I'm going to upload a individual best bet video talking about my best bet on each and every fight. So check that out. Leave a like on the way out. Subscribe. Check out DFS by the Numbers on Twitter. DFS_numbers. Instagram, DFS by the Numbers. Best of luck for UFC Vegas 58. And we'll talk to you guys very soon. See you.